So, thank you so much for sitting down to do this interview with us. It's very nice to meet you, Mr. Chair. My name is Rareș Voicu. I'm the president of the European Youth Forum. We are the largest platform of youth organizations in the world. So we bring together more than 100 national youth councils and international youth organizations. And we represent the voice of young people at the European level.
Fantastic.
And on this note, before we begin with the heavier questions, I was wondering, have you ever been part of a youth organization?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for this question. Thank you for this chat. Yeah, sure. I've been very active when I was a young student, both at the gymnasium and then as well at the university. I've been involved in Catholic organization in my small town, and then I've been involved in one organization which is FGC in Italy as well, very important. And then during my university, I was representing students in the council, so I was very much involved in the student, the youth organization.
And how did they shape who you are today? Or what did you learn in those places? Or how did
Well, for instance, I'm one of the politicians who support the idea that young people should vote at 16. And not as in most of the countries since 18 years old. Because I think that, today, young people should have more a say in many things. Think about environment, for instance, or war. Today we speak very much about war, which are things which look ahead in perspective. And then the most important part of the life of young are not covered by policy making if they are not included in the debate. So that's why I think that if we look at the issues with the eyes of young, probably many things would result differently in policy making. In particular today, I refer to the debate on environmental change and on war. These two things, I think, are impacting very much the life in perspective of them, the life of everybody, but in particular of them, and they have a very sensitive approach on that.
It's true. And now that you're mentioning it, it's true. Many of these issues, they have young people at the forefront, right? Or young people fighting, for example, for climate justice. And we have, at the same time, projects like Erasmus+, let's say, and the fight and policies to combat climate change. Yeah. All of these things the young people are standing for and they're fighting for. But all of them, of course, require money. You know, hundreds of billions of euros. Yeah. And what we often hear as young people is that our governments or the European Union doesn't have the money to pay for these things or to cover these kinds of projects and initiatives. So what do you think we can actually do to make sure that the funding that all of these programs receive can be increased and would actually be stable?
You mentioned Erasmus Plus and all these fantastic projects that Europe has. Well, these are probably the most liked by everybody, in particular by young people. And I was one of the probably most user of this project. As a student, as a professor at the university, I was very much involved in the project of the university and within the Erasmus+. Now, one of the main issue of my committee, of my FISC committee, of which I am president chair, is basically to fight against tax evasion, tax avoidance, to collect resources regularly for member states and for Europe to have own resources as well. To do what? Well, to finance projects like Erasmus+, or to finance projects like just transition, to speak about environment, or to cover resources for today we speak about defense. Well, I think that we can do more, in particular as far as own resources are concerned, because today European economy is more and more integrated. We have one market, one economy. We say that we would like to have one single market as such, but then we miss the resources. I think that, and to remain in the domain of my committee, we see that the economy is changing very much, in particular as far as digital economy is concerned. And this is exactly a domain where taxation can be European, digital taxation, I mean. And digital taxation to support and finance projects which support young people, or Erasmus Plus, or just transition, just to remain in the two domain which we mentioned, will be very important.
It's true, and I think it's very encouraging to hear that the Parliament is looking at increasing the resources that are available for these kinds of projects and actually programs that the European Union is famous for. The Erasmus Plus program for young people, for youth organizations, is one of the flagship programs of the European Union, one of its most effective programs. And we know that, a lot of this money that's is being discussed in terms of taxation and how it can be approached through this lens is what data shows us in the pockets of the extra, ultra wealthy individuals. We know that 3,600 people in the European Union own as much wealth as 181 million Europeans, and that today, out of 10 euros that the government receives, 8 of them are coming from individual, ordinary citizens like us. So I think that the question is, taxing wealth seems to be nowhere in sight. Why do you think that is? Or where are we on that?
Well, this is a very important topic. We are working very much on that, our committee. I have to say that political division on that issue is very important, very important. I personally believe that such a level of inequality cannot be any longer tolerated within European Union. We do have, at global level, 12 people in the world which own the wealth of 3.5 billion people. So half of the population basically have the same resources as they have 12 people in the world. So this is not only a moral issue, it is really the functioning of the economy, because when most of the resources are concentrated in the end of the few, consumption is really limited. The expansion of the demand has really much less effect on the production. So I think that even from a macroeconomic point of view, to have a distribution more and more equally distributed, or resources more equally distributed, has an impact as well on production and on the function of the economy. And we have only one way in market economy to intervene in order to cope with such level of inequality, which is taxation. Now, there are two domains, I think, where taxation has still margin to improve. One is the digital economy. We spoke about that today. Most of the rich companies, they do have digital services which are in proportion taxed at lower level than a traditional company. And the second one is the ultra rich. When I speak about ultra rich, I speak about people owning resources which are above 100 million euros, and they are not so many, but they own a huge level of wealth. Zuckman, the French economist, stated that actually, if we tax these wealth people, these super rich people, with a tax rate of 3%, we would get around 121 billion euros per year, which is a lot, which is a lot to support social policy, to support industry, to support defense, to support basically things to which you give priority within Europe. And this is something that Europe needs to do today in order to recover strength and as well to foster growth, because we know that when distribution is equally, resources are equally distributed, there is an impact on growth as well.
And speaking of this, we really care about this because it really has a very direct impact on our lives. When we have wealth inequality, what it means is that a small number of people own a very large number of resources, like housing, for example. So we're not only talking about wealth in monetary terms. We know that large investors own billions and billions worth of housing in Europe. And all of us have felt that rents have increased almost by 50% in the last 15 years across the board and across the Union. This is a major problem for young people, as I'm sure you're well aware, because most young people are renters and they've been the hardest hit by this increase. Most young people feel like they could lose their home within the next 3 months. So I think the question would be, what can young people and youth organizations actually do to solve this housing emergency?
Well, for the first time, we need to say that in the European Union pay attention today to this issue at European level. We established a special committee on housing. We have a portfolio which is not so big as I would like to see, but we do have a portfolio with some endowment for coping with the housing crisis. And as fiscal committee, we could work on some issue, which is, for instance, incentive for young people to buy houses, or VAT, because in some countries you do have VAT on houses, or property houses. You need to defiscalize this cost, at least for young people, and for people who do not reach certain level of income. You have margin to do that, and I think that this could be done.
Okay. Thank you so much for your reflection. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I hope that we can keep this dialogue going on for young people and organizations across the Union. Thank you so much.